Hi, I'm Natasha O'Connell. I'm a professional development coach and a recruiter with the Temp Positions group of companies. I seek out New York City's leaders to talk to them about their success and to hear their thoughts on mentorship and leadership. Today on Temp Mentors, I'm speaking with award-winning small business coach Malla Haridat, who shares her professional tips and advice for career advancement. Hi, Maya. Thank you so much for coming to speak with me today.
Thank you, Natasha. Such a pleasure to be able to come and have this interview with you.
Great. So my first question is, tell me about your professional journey.
Sure. So I am so privileged to say, as I sit in front of you here today, that in my career, I've been able to do a lot of things related to human resources and recruiting. Things like setting up international internships, setting up opportunities for alumni and for employers kind of across the nation. I've had a chance to do a lot of speaking and training. But the thing that brings me the most joy is knowing that a number of years ago, I was a first generation college student and really did not understand this world of networking, didn't understand the world of, well, how do you actually get a job and find success within your career? What does that look like? So being here today and being able to share those types of tips with people from someone who, this was all learned, this was all an experience that I had. I mean, it just brings me such joy to be able to give this type of insight to people.
Well, great. Fantastic. So whenever you've been in a position where you've had to hire, what has affected your hiring decisions?
Sure. So I think I have an interesting take on the hiring conversation because one of the roles that I had for a number of years is that I would meet with hundreds of employers every year and find out what their needs were to then best match people with those needs. So it's interesting. I think if I had done something more traditional where I was the one doing the hiring, I might see it in a very different way. But when you get the chance to hear from industries and you get the chance to hear from companies that are startups.
Golden.
Oh
right?
my gosh, it is amazing because then you get a real sense of what do companies want. And it's two things. They want the technical skills. They want to know that you can get the job done, that you have the capabilities. And then it's who you show up as a person. Right. What are your soft skills? What are your ability to communicate with other people, to build teams, to take ownership in projects? And, you know, when I first started doing this, I thought, well, there's got to be so many differences. And once you see that, no, most companies want the same thing. If it's the CEO to, you know, the person who's, you know, managing the front desk, if you can understand that what they're really looking for is your ability to come to work every day and to really elevate things for them from both your technical side and who you are as a person, that's half
right?
half the formula. Right?
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. So when you're in an interview with a candidate, what makes that candidate a winner? Like, yeah, that's my person.
Totally. So I think a candidate that's a winner is one that has done their homework on both the company. So do your research on the company. Make sure that if you're showing up that you did not just wake up that morning and just, you know, you look great.
You decided to wing it.
Yes.
I'm going to wing this one. Yeah.
Totally. Winging it is not the way to go about it. And trust me, I get it because that person may have been going on a lot of interviews and it takes some work. But by the same token, you've got to do your homework ahead of time and really know what that company is about, what their culture is about, what's going on in the news, what are their needs. And then you've got to marry that with what you bring to the table. What's your story? So entrepreneurs talk about it all the time. It's your personal brand. Ironically, it's the same thing when you're a professional, is what is your story? What are the experiences you have? And how can you explain to that employer that you have transferable skills that are going to matter to them? So I think those, when you start thinking about that, and I do a lot of work interviewing, helping people to practice interview to find that, because, you know, you don't talk in story usually, but that's powerful. And that's really what people are looking for during that interview process.
Yeah, I tell my candidates too, it's like, what's picture are you painting? What's your story? How do you explain this? How do you explain a gap? How do you there's so many things, but be ready.
Right.
Don't be looking up at the ceiling wondering if this answer is going to come to you.
Because it won't.
It won't be, right?
Right.
It won't.
And so, you know, you mentioned something interesting. Even that process of kind of practicing the interview, that's part of the research. And I really encourage people to do that. Even if you're senior in your particular position, we get rusty, right?
Yeah. When you stop interviewing for a while, like you've had this position for 10 years. And so who the heck's thinking about acing your interview
And, getting on to, okay, what skills do I need to do this?
Right.
Yeah.
It's something
You're
different.
rusty.
So you want to practice it and you want to feel comfortable with what that story is. And then the key thing that most employers are looking for is that they want to hear what you did, but they also more importantly want to know what did you learn from it that you can then apply to the next company you're working with. So don't worry about getting too lost in the weeds with the actual story itself. Just make sure you can explain to me, here's what I took away from that experience. And I think that will help in many cases.
So now what makes a good leader?
A good leader. So I have to say that is probably so tough a question to answer.
I know, right?
Because it's this giant question about leadership.
How about everyday? Like everyday, everyday leadership.
Totally. So one of the things that I focus a lot on with the career coaching that I do, a lot with working with young professionals, is this conversation about taking ownership of your work. So, any employee can come in and do the job that's on the table. Anybody can do that. Well, assuming most people can. But the ones that really shine are the ones that go above and beyond, right? The ones that really take a project or they take whatever their role is and they find ways to keep adding value to the company. And they find ways, maybe it's that I need to get additional skills outside of work. Maybe it's that I volunteer to help out with a team when they're asking for support with another team. And it's uncomfortable and it's new, but I really want to take ownership over this full role and understand, well, how does this department work that I liaison with? And they're giving me an opportunity to see that. I think for leaders, that sense of really taking ownership with what you're doing, that sense of not just getting stuck in what you know and what you're comfortable with, and really being willing to learn new skills in that process, that's huge. I think that you can lead then regardless of whatever your title is in terms of the role.
Or what your position. Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Yeah. If you take ownership as a leader, it doesn't matter if you're the CEO or whatever your role may be.
Okay, great. Good answer.
Thank you.
So, this brings me to goals and tracking your goals. Are you someone who sets goals like either in a book or on a board, or do you do vision boards or any of that, and then kind of I did that and check it off, check the box?
So
is that your style?
So in terms of setting goals, I am a goal setting geek. So
I don't want to say it, but yeah,
I am slightly
so you geek out on goal setting.
Totally.
You get those planners with all the
planners, yes. I definitely have my my boards, my project management board. So I use Asana, I use Trello and things of that nature. And I'll tell you why goal setting for me has been so powerful. I think it's really easy, especially now where we're in an age of social media, where there's so many things that are going on to try to take our attention.
Definitely.
It's really easy to forget and step away from the things that matter to you,
Mm-hmm.
the things that you want to see in your life 5 years, 10 years from now. And if you're not intentional about what those goals are you have, where do you want to be professionally? What does that look like? What are the skills that you need to get in order to figure that out? If you don't take time to really plan that out, experiment, find out some things work, some things don't, and then go back to it again, I think it's easy to have 10 years pass by.
And that's it.
And you're like, well, wait a minute, what happened? So if you're setting goals, if you're really intentional about things, and it's not about being perfect, but it is about saying, here's where I want to spend my time, my money, the people that I want to be around, I think you can do some pretty phenomenal things.
Well, Maya, thank you so much for speaking with me.
It was such a pleasure.
And do let me know when that TED Talk happens, because I know you're going to go for it.
You
Bucket list, check.
You have me now putting it up on top of the vision board.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
An absolute pleasure.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
If you'd like more information about Temp Mentors, please email us at noconnell@temppositions.com. Thank you.